Cody is our video man. He was out at Morgan Oaks Eternal Preserve, where Larry had a green burial, which meant no embalming. And you have your choice of bamboo caskets or a shroud. You put him in a shroud. It looks like muslin. And he looked pretty comfy. He was swaddled. Okay, so vegetables, food, help yourself, have a seat. Thank you, everybody, for coming here. I didn't know what to plan for. I knew we had great neighbors. And then here we have insurance guy and Kyle, two people for insurance. We have Chad and Cheryl, who Larry used to work with Chad. And Chad has great stories. I oversold you, I know, sorry. But he, I knew when I...
I'll try to be politically correct.
No, don't bother. So when I came here a year and a half ago, when Larry had his surgery, I called Chad, and we had a lot of laughs on the phone. So I thought he was going to be in Southern California by now. I guess he thought he was too, but with his kids. But he's still here, and I'm glad. So it's good. And I decided to do this because I haven't done a celebration of life before. I had to have someone read the eulogies I wrote for my parents. I couldn't get through it. But this is a celebration because Larry is quite a character, and we love him, and we have funny stories. And I thought this would be neat because we'll do a celebration of life back in the suburbs of Chicago, too. So I have a few cousins and some of my friends who knew Larry. And I thought, okay, first of all, people are kind of puzzled about this whole Morgan Oaks thing. And no, Cody did not go in and get any crib shots. I hope you didn't. No, okay. But it is a really cool and pretty place. And so I wanted people to see that and then also to hear the stories. And I think maybe we'll get stories at home in Schaumburg where we go, but I don't know. Okay. So again, thank you everyone coming here to honor Larry Arkus, the man, the myth, the legend, and now a former owner of a white 1976 Cadillac Seville. I'm still waiting for my Atta Girls neighbors, I haven't. Thank you, Alice.
Yeah.
Maybe a parade. I mean, I bet some people, though, are goofed up now because they're used to it as a landmark. And we are. I mean, we're like, wait, where's the house? I will say, though, Larry knew how to maneuver that boat. We were in San Francisco once, and not only could he find parking, he could park that baby on a side street, up a hill, or down a hill. I mean, he is pretty amazing with the size of that in San Francisco. Yeah. I was very impressed. So as I said, Larry had a green burial at Morgan Oaks Eternal Preserve in Lincoln, about 30 minutes from here. And this is what I said in my eulogy there, and maybe you've read it. I think I've passed it around to quite a few people. That I said there, Larry, I think the green burial is a great idea. Because he did want that. We had talked about that before. I said, you have so many recyclables in your house. And now you're recycling yourself. Talk about commitment. He went 100% to the end. Larry always had a smile. And even when he was in the hospital, he was convinced that he'd still beat colon cancer. Shirley left a wonderful tribute to him on legacy.com. And thank you for those of you who have posted comments. Please do. I actually really do enjoy them in a way I never thought I would. Part of what she said is that he could talk to anyone. And that's true. Larry never met a stranger. Yeah. Larry was very good to me, especially as a child. Took me to lots of places, and he did provide good advice over the years to a certain extent. But he also paid for me to take a study travel trip to Europe, which awakened my interest in art, and he had never been there before. And he paid for me to attend a summer TV production workshop at Stanford. And while my dream job there disappeared, I realized that Northern California was a place that I wanted to live. Low humidity, cools off at night most of the time. But it's pretty funny that he's the one who moved up here with Sally. He didn't even know what the area was like. As you can imagine, I have a lot of Larry stories, but I want to hear your stories. but I do have to tell you one. So I think it was November that Larry called to say that he was in the emergency department again. It's like just about every Friday. 2 weeks in a row. This time, he was attending the burial of the sister of a homeless guy he befriended. The landscapers had been trimming trees. He saw branches and sticks for kindling. He's got a lot of kindling already, but he saw it was free. He took a bunch and put them in his trunk. But he decided he had to go back and get some more.
It was free.
Yeah, exactly, free. Apparently, there were some pretty old gravestones at this cemetery. He suddenly found himself 1 foot stuck in a grave that had separated from the headstone. I think it was the vault that stopped him from going all the way in. And he wrenched his knee. I texted Jim Kidd and said, Larry gives a new meaning to the phrase, 1 foot in the grave. Humor. Okay, so people, don't be shy. Come on up. You're not going to hear yourself because it's just going right into the video. But please, someone start off with a Larry story.
I'll start off with a Larry story.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
My name is Chad States, and I worked at a company called Home Savings. We did retail home loans. And Larry and I just kind of hit it off. We were best of friends. I know all 3 of my kids, my little tiny kids that are now 35, 33, and 31, just loved him. He always had those big dimples, and he wanted to know what my youngest was up to. And at the time, she was working at the Roseville Galleria at Nordstrom's selling shoes and making a bundle of money because she got paid on commission. And Larry found out she was there, and she had like 30 seconds to spend with him that turned out to be like 45 minutes because no one's spoken to Larry for 30 seconds ever. I remember once he was on a phone call. He says, I was only on the phone for 45 minutes. I said, wrong number? And he said, how did you know? It was only 45 minutes. But what a heart he had. I remember once I told him I was struggling and I didn't have enough hands or strength to put in a post and a fence over at my place, and he found out that I was doing it. Of course, he said he was going to get there about 8 o'clock in the morning, and he did arrive at around 2 o'clock, which is Larry time.
Yeah.
Typical, yeah. I remember when you say typical, when we had a dinner planned, we would just say, well, let's see. We want to eat at 6 o'clock, so let's tell Larry 4. So he would get in there, and it was like 5 after 6 or 10 after 6 when he'd arrive, and we'd say, oh yeah, Larry's here. You're right on time. He said, what do you mean on time? I'm late. He goes, no. We planned for you to be late. So we told everybody that it's 6 o'clock. They all got here at 6 o'clock. You were still late for 6 o'clock. But what a sweet, generous, loving, funny guy. He was never short for any words. And when he ran over to see my youngest, that's 31 years old, selling shoes, he had made her laugh, and he had said that he was so proud that, forgive me, I get a little emotional, grown up to be a beautiful woman. And they embraced, shared a great hug, and kind of cried a little bit, and because she's just grown up, part of what we all do. But Larry and I had so much fun together. For a while, he assisted me into a new business I was going in, from retail home loans to wholesale home loans. And I struggled the first 6 months that I was there. I mean, I really struggled. But after that, the second year that I was there, I was the second highest producer in the United States. And then the third year that I was there, I was lucky enough to be number 1. And a lot of that was his encouragement and his knowledge and his advice and stuff like that. And we worked with such a wide variety of people. I remember once we were chatting, we were going to a baseball game to see the AAA team, the Gophers. Is that what they are? The River Cats. That's close enough. The River Cats. And we were talking about this one gentleman that seemed to be perhaps gay. And we were kind of joking about it, very tacky guys that we were. And he was insisting upon the fact that the guy was gay, and I said he wasn't gay. And he said, well, how do you know? And just as he took a big gulp of beer, I said, well, he didn't kiss like one. And he spit the beer all over my car. And we had a good joke, and he just was a very warm, loving guy. He loved everybody. As long as you could chit-chat with him, he loved you. And if you could listen to his stories, and he had many, many, many of them, he was a fun guy to be around. He had his own little grumblings, but all in all, he had a very positive outlook, and he could not have been sweeter to me and my 3 children and my lovely bride, though he would have a tendency of arguing with my wife. And he said, you know, about things that he would try to swing me over to his way of thinking. I remember Sally at his 50th birthday party was roasting him, and she said, can you think of something that Larry would never say? And I said, I got one for you. Larry would never say, gee, I never looked at it that way. You've changed my whole way of thinking. But I did love him. So, next? Anybody next? Share a story? Thank you very much for letting me speak, and I apologize, I get a little choked up. Anybody? Here you go, thank you.
Hi, I'm Scott Reed, and I first met Larry, I think it was in Rancho Cordova here in California, but I knew his wife because she was my boss in Dallas, Texas. And so she came out here to do some work and recruited me to follow her out, so I came. And so got to meet Larry one morning for breakfast when we were at the hotel staying out here, and deciding whether we would make the move. And then through the years have talked to him. Yes, it was always at least a half-hour commitment to talk to Larry, but about a lot of things. He was always interested in my kids, how they were growing up, and what they're doing, and recommendations about, you know, programs he knew about or he'd participated in that he wanted to share, and that sort of thing. So he was always generous with not only his political beliefs, but also, you know, some good advice too about life and options and ways of thinking about things. So sure appreciated having him be a part of my life, even though at times it could be aggravating as heck. When you wanted to get something done or be somewhere else, it was a half-hour commitment, and it just had to be met. You know, there was no way around that. So, at any rate, think of him fondly. So.
Nice.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh.
You want to go? Sure. Okay, my name is Jim Kidd. I live down the street from Larry. Know Larry through the neighborhood associations. Met Larry many years ago, and we became good friends. But like Connie says, the myth or the legend, because I mean, you people here know him, but when you talk to people that don't know him very well, and you tell a story about Larry, is that a true story? Is it possible that is true? Or, you know, that's the legend of Larry. To go on the same theme, talking to Larry would call me probably once a week, and he was very knowledgeable on politics, history of America, sports, and things like that. And we talk on the phone for 45 minutes to 2 hours. And he was just really intelligent, a really smart man. the unique thing about these conversations on the phone is Larry would do most of the talking. After about 20 minutes, I'd have to say, Larry. Larry! Larry! Yeah, what is it, Jim? Do I get to say anything? Is there anything in this conversation I could say? No, I'm sorry, yeah, go ahead. And he'd give me 4 sentences, 5 sentences, and then he'd move on. But he was very knowledgeable on that stuff. Politics, he wasn't a big fan of Reagan. That's the only thing I'll say about politics. He would let me know about that, about the mental health wards he closed down and things like that, but we'll go into that later. But it was just amazing. And sometimes he'd call me and I'd be busy on the computer doing something. After about 20 minutes, I'd have to just take the phone and put it in the corner over there. And about every 10 minutes, I'd go, "You're right, Larry." Absolutely. Because I had things to do, and I knew it wasn't going to be a 10-minute, I'll listen to him intensely and hang up in 10 minutes. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But he was a good man. Every time the conversation was over, he would say, "How's Kathy? How's Danny? How's Michelle? Is everything okay at the family? What can I do for you?" So he was a good man, and I'm going to miss him.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Chris Saltobel. I've been Larry's insurance agent for the past 15 years or so. Gotten to know Larry pretty well over the years because of his aversion to technology. Most people are paying their bills and filing their claims online. He came in to the office or called in, probably on a rotary phone, I'd imagine. He was old school that way, but we really appreciated it. Kyle is my associate here and sits at the front and takes the calls and greets the people as they come in. And we don't have many people that come in anymore, so Larry would always come in and spend time with Kyle. Usually the business that we had at hand took about 2 to 3 minutes, but his visit would last about an hour, which was pretty typical, which we, frankly, we enjoyed. And we enjoyed his company when he came in. We were just as conversational with him as he was with us, and we really enjoyed it. One of the neat things for me, I'm in earshot of the phone, and so I can hear Kyle talking, and when the conversation's done, I'm like, that was Larry, right? And he says, yeah, it was Larry. And it really wasn't as much of the duration as it was the tone. So that Kyle's tone, it was just very friendly. He was just obviously just a very friendly guy. And anyway, we're gonna really miss him. He was terrific, and we really enjoyed his company. So thank you.
Very nice.
Okay, don't be shy. Ladies. Gentlemen. That's it, huh? Michelle, Danny? No? I'm gonna put you on the spot, but I'm putting you on the spot. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Tell them about putting the phone down that your father did also.
Yeah, my dad would be like, exactly, Jim. It's the, oh, sorry. Yeah, what Dan was saying about the phone and with Jim, because that's what my dad would do. Larry'd call him 1 or 2 times a day at night. Usually right when my dad was watching a sports program he was interested in. And he's like, the same thing. He'd put the phone down. Or my dad would fall asleep. and Larry like, Dad, you falling asleep? Oh, no, Larry, go ahead, keep going. And it didn't matter, Jim, like you said, you put it down. He was thrilled. Yeah, I think it was the, Vicki mentioned to Dan the other day that she thinks he was lonely, and I'm sure he was. So thank you to all of those who hung in there with him. Again, thank you for sharing the memories. Colby and I haven't talked about the whole video thing, but we'll probably have a link or something. And I do want people at home in Des Plaines, where we grew up, or Schaumburg, where Dan and I live, when I do something there too, similar to this. But I do appreciate the great memories. Like I said, I was never one of those legacy.com people, but now I am. Because I thought the funeral home was going to do something, but they didn't really have the guest book thing. But so I did the legacy.com, and it's good to look at that stuff and read it. So the plan is to show the video to the few remaining relatives we have and friends in Illinois at another celebration of life. It's the Larry on the Road Tour 2024. Last week I saw Ivan the mail carrier, and I did meet him a year and a half ago when I was here. Yes, that's his name. I know many of you don't know it, but my brother did. And anyway, he said he offered Larry help on numerous occasions. You know, can I do this for you? Can I do that? And Larry has said no. And Ivan said this about Larry, which is kind of profound. He lived life the way he wanted to, and he was happy. Yes, he did. And he was. Okay, I have a little bit of a closing prayer here. Dear Lord, I thank you for all of Larry's friends who turned out today and shared their Larry stories. It's been a great comfort to me, and I hope to those who are here. Lord, we thank you for the gift of Larry. What a guy. We ask that you take good care of your child, Lord. He was a good son, brother, friend, husband, stepfather, and step-grandfather. Thank you that he's at peace now in your loving arms with Mom, Dad, baby Christine, Cousin Bob, and all our other relatives. We made it through the holidays, so please help us now, because things will be a lot different now without good old Lair. And please tell him not to haunt me when I put a pool in his backyard.
I was going to tell that story, but I just...
That's funny.
So please sign the guest book. It is convenient when you add your address. I have these kind of quasi-holy cards. They didn't have a lot to choose from, which is just, they didn't have St. Francis of Assisi. That, he would have liked that. But there's kind of this thing, even like a stylized American flag. I think he would have liked it. And eagles. I mean, maybe, Chad, do you remember any story he used to do about, you know, eagles fly above the BS and all that? No, okay, that must have been the other job. So that was appropriate. And then, even though we're Polish, I put the Irish blessing on the back. So if you want one, take one of that. And please, help yourself. The food here is for you.
So was
And
Christina's sister?
yeah, she died when she was 9 months old. She had an inherited disorder. Fortunately, autosomal recessive, both, oops.
And she was between your ages?
After me, she was 6.
after you.
I mean, I had just turned 7, and Larry is 10 years older, he was 17. And so she
remember him saying something
passed
about
away,
it.
yeah,
It's been some time.
at 9 months. And then my cousin Bob, we don't have too many cousins left. There's Dennis and his wife and their kids, my cousin Joanne, her kids. She's out of state. And my cousin Bob and Janet. And Bob had something similar, but even worse than Larry with the bag and something else. But he still went to Europe. I don't know how he managed. But his cancer came back, and he passed away this summer. Larry couldn't make it. He was sick. And his wife said, no, don't you dare get on the plane with
Right.
your immune system
Right.
the way it is. But that was kind of strange and ironic that Bob passed away in the summer and then Larry. But yeah, so we had a little sister. Any other questions? Okay, again,
Tell them about the pool. Tell them
the
about
pool.
the
Oh, okay.
Tell them
So
about the pool.
for years, I was the one who wanted to live in Northern California. As I.
What?
One more time. Oh, one more time. Okay.
Green light.
Thank you, Jim. I'd like to stay up here a little longer with my act. Jim wants me to tell a story about the pool in the backyard. So he always said about, oh, you know, do you think you want this house? I said, no, I'm happy in Schaumburg. I don't want to move. Till I came out a year and a half ago. And despite the condition of the house, once everything got cleared away, it's like floor to ceiling, brick fireplace, the backyard. Yeah, it's a jungle, but it's there. You're across from Maydu, I still can't get that right, and 3 bedrooms, 3-car garage. Dan has already identified his work area, his work room.
Most of it.
Most, yeah. So I'm looking at that. Dan had to go back. There's a wedding and all that stuff, and I'm still there. And I said, I want to live here. I like it. I mean, it was, at that time, it was like 112. I guess that was low that summer. But it does mostly cool off at night. And I don't like humidity. And it's beautiful. I mean, there's palm trees. We're going nuts about the trees all over. And I like snow and cold. But this is really good. So when finally, like a year and a half ago, Larry didn't talk to me for 3 months after I cleared out his house. He kept asking me, where's this? When you'd walk in the front door, I said I could barely get in the front door. I don't remember a table. I'm like, what do you mean? And Dan said, just tell him it's in the landfill, okay? And so I got tired of him wailing on me all the time, and I said, well, we're moving forward. If you can't, bye. So we didn't talk till Christmas. And he said about the house. I said, yeah, I want it. I want to live in there. He's like, good. He was so excited for like a week or two, because then he said, he forgot that I said that. So he said, now, are you thinking of moving here? Or I said, yeah, I told you. Don't you remember? I said, the first thing I want to do is put a pool in the backyard. No, you're not putting a pool in the backyard. No. I was like, what do you mean, no? He goes, no, it's too expensive. And he's right, it is. There might not be a pool. I mean, I really hope so. But so he would go on and on about that. And I said, forget I even say anything. He said, well, they're too much work. I said, does Jim think his pool is too much work? Has he ever complained about it? Well, no, I don't care. Oh, it's a waste of money. No, you're not going to put in there. So then when he was, working on his will and stuff, which, of course, we couldn't find it, but fortunately he gave it to his late attorney friend's wife, so I got it sent to me from Florida. I said to him, we were talking about, he said, no, I'm not going to let you put a pool in. I said, well, is there pool police? What is, how can you prevent me from putting a pool in when you're gone? Oh, I'll find a way. I'll make sure. And I said, have you talked to Jim about this? No, but thanks for reminding me. Well, I texted Jim immediately and said, you're going to get a call, or he's going to tell you he doesn't want me to put a pool in. So I'm just warning you. And sure enough, I texted Jim and Kath, and 10, 15 minutes later, yeah, Larry gave me a call. He doesn't want a pool in the backyard.
And then the thing he said to me, he said, I'm going to put in the will that you can't have the house if you put a pool in. That's what he told me.
He was gonna
That's
put
Larry.
He's going to put a little slider in the
Yeah.
pool.
I haven't come across it yet, fortunately.
I don't think he did it.
But it was funny, after wanting me to live in there,
Right.
and then I made the mistake of saying that. I didn't know he was going to be so against it. So anyway, but thank you, Jim. That was my other story. All right, anybody else? We have the room until 5 o'clock, but not 5:01. We have to be out of here at 5, or I will be double charged. Even though
Maybe Larry will show up 5 minutes to 5.
Chad, not only was he on time for his burial, he was early.
Well, there you go.
The new Larry.
Oh, Dan, wait, come on.
No,
No? You don't have a story you want
I
to
don't
share?
have any stories.
He has a
I
lot
do
of
remember telling Larry once, I remember saying, Larry, you're going to be late to your own funeral. And he said, I hope so. Does that sound like the Larry we know and love?
It sure does.
And I know he adored you.
Oh, thank you. I know, that's it. When I got the news, I was staying with Shirley. It couldn't have been a better place for me to stay. Because the rehab center people were driving me up the wall. I don't think they know anything about hospice. I mean, I don't care if you're not into hospice and you're in a rehab there. You got to know something about hospice. It's not that hard or confusing or anything. Well, his blood pressure dropped. He's not eating. I know. But see, I was trying to get him at home so he could have hospice care and get the meds and everything else. But I just couldn't get it all together before he passed away. So it seemed like every time I was at church that morning, right, week before Christmas, and had my phone off, like, uh-oh, I had a message. And then I'm on the way home from Rockland, and There it was again. And I'm like, what's going on? Well, the same old thing. I said, you're the one who, I signed the forms yesterday. You know what's going on here. He needs hospice care. I just can't get him home fast enough. Can you just keep giving him pain meds and help him sleep or whatever else you need? And like, okay, well, we want to make you aware. Okay. So I get a call about 8 o'clock at night. I'm at Shirley's. I had been at the house and tired and working. And they said, well, it's kind of not looking good. So I got over there around 8 o'clock. So the good news was I sat there and held his hand, and he was warm, and he was snoring. And, I thought he probably had a couple more days. We learned with my mom that sometimes the fingertips and the toes start to get purple. It's a lack of oxygen. They call it mottling. Nope. He looked good. He sounded fine. So he was just snoring. And some people do this, but I'm not someone who just sits there. I tried a few other times. And I appreciate, when I think Shirley visited him and made sure she got after one of the nurses to change his bag and everything. But I talked to him, I prayed over him, and so I called with this Green Oaks, this whole burial thing. I said, well, it could happen tonight, it could happen in a couple of days or what, I don't know. So they contacted the funeral home. They contract with certain funeral homes so you don't get upsold stuff. And so I talked to also the funeral home, and I said, I don't know. But, because this is what when the nurse first called me, I said, okay, so what happens after he passes away? I haven't had a chance to call the funeral home and all that. Well, we can only keep him for 2 hours. Oh, okay. Wow. Who has room in their freezer or refrigerator? This is Pine Creek, is that the name of it? But I hear they're all bad. Pine Creek. And so I said, where do you take him? Well, to a mortuary. Well, what mortuary? I don't know. She asked her colleague. I said, okay, let me handle this. So then I did, and I gave them the information, and apparently they made the right phone call. Well, it's like one more on this list of things to complain about. Now, there's a few people I'll compliment, but there was just things were handled so poorly. And I'm fussy. So I get home 8:30 or so, and so Shirley even said, well, you think you're going to get a call when the next one comes on shift? Probably. Well, that's probably what happened. I got a call a little after midnight that he passed away. And actually, I was surprised because he looked and he sounded good. Although he was jaundiced at the end, too. But anyway, I don't know where I was going with that story. But, so the next morning I was getting ready and I was going to leave and didn't see Shirley yet, so I just texted her. And she came out of her room and she hugged me and said, he loved you very much. I know. So, Shirley, thank you for your house, because that was the perfect place for me to be when that happened. And I have my moments where I lose it, and I'll do more of that, I'm sure, because right now I'm still in the house, getting that house stuff done. So I appreciate everybody's support for being there and so helpful and here, and then for being so nice to Larry. His doctors, I met so many doctors when I was here before, and they all cared about him in a different way. Oh, wait, I do have to tell one more joke. His internist is this older Asian Indian man, and very nice. Actually, he's the same age as Larry, but he looked a lot older. And you could tell he was just waiting to tell this joke. He swings around on his chair, and so this is after Larry had his surgery. He had everything out. And the doctor said, Larry, no one can call you an asshole anymore. I was almost on the floor. Larry said, I don't think it was that funny. I said, can't you tell, though? He was just waiting. He was waiting for the right opportunity to tell that joke. So, but they all cared about him in a different way, because he walked in, and he's rubbing Larry's back, and he said, oh, my God, you're skin and bones, because he got down to about 105. And then his surgeon out of Sacramento was the best ever. Different personality, pretty blunt. He was blunt with me on the phone, but I appreciate honesty.
Right.
And he said, we've done everything we can. He's had chemo, he's had radiation, surgery. This is it. I said, so even if you find something else, that's my recommendation. And unfortunately, like 32 out of 33 lymph nodes were great, but that one. And then where they took the tumor out, there was, didn't get all the margins. But he was great because I talked to him. I wanted to get the pathology report before we met with him. And I told him about this problem Larry had about hoarding. And he said, oh, yeah, he told me a little. I said, a little. So I said, I'm going to need your help with this. Well, I couldn't have scripted this guy better. When I walked in, he was ready. He was like taking out some stitches, and Larry from behind, he goes, any questions? I said, yeah, I have a bunch, but let me let's cover some of these minor ones first, and they were big ones about his health. And he's like, oh, okay. So we were waiting until Larry was upright. And then I said, okay, sorry I'm blindsiding you, Larry, but I showed Dr. Lee 2 photos, his shower and his toilet. He said, Larry, how did you manage? I'm amazed you didn't get an infection or something. He goes, well, if you take the lid off, it flushes. Well, you shouldn't have to take the lid off. So Dr. Lee had some knowledge of this, I guess some family members. So he was great because Larry said, well, I can meet the home health people on the front lawn. I said, nah, that's not how that works, Larry. They look inside, they red tag your house, and they put you someplace. And he said, well, okay, can I sit there while they do this? He goes, no, that defeats the purpose. You shouldn't be anywhere around there when they're cleaning out the house. Well, what he didn't know was, I already was having the house cleaned out as we were speaking. So, but that doctor was great. He was so funny. And, Larry wanted to hear it from a man because my problem is that I'm the younger sister. So that didn't go over real well. But anyway, we love Larry, and there's so many stories. And again, thank you for taking time out of your week. I'm glad you could make it. I was kind of concerned. Getting this place was a big deal. And I was like, oh, I got it. Like, oh, I hope people can come.
I just got a text from Larry. Want to know what you did with this good junk?
Yeah. Landfill. All right, thanks again.